Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground. My name is Terry Fletcher. So I'm going to do a What the Football special edition this week because I just saw a signing of Mitchell Trubisky. He is a quarterback that played for the Chicago Bears and then ended his 2021 season as a backup for the Bills to Josh Allen. And I know everyone is very excited about this, but I'm going to probably be a naysayer here and just kind of be a devil's advocate until I'm sure Joe and Brian get on and try to discuss this and change my mind about this. But let's really take a look at this. So first, let's talk about the best of Mitch Trubisky. And it seems like he's coming in, a lot of assumptions out there. Social media is blowing up saying he's coming in as the starter. But remember, they tendered Dwayne Haskins this week as well. We're in the week of March where now it is the, and I'm air quoting, legal tampering period, and all the free agents are starting. We know that over the past weekend, Tom Brady announced he's coming back. So a lot going on in the NFL this week, even though we are in off season. But let's start with the best of Trubisky. So, and because he's going to have to compete for a job, there's a lot of rumors out there that, he's coming in as a starter. Well, he didn't end as a starter in his last two teams. So he has won 11 of 14 starts. He did that in 2018 when he was with the Chicago Bears. He threw for 3,223 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He did have a quarterback rating of 95.4, so his completion rating was 66.6%. Now, he also, in 2019, he had 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. In 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, so he got better. And his QB rating in those 3 years averaged out to be high 83 percentile, so 89 around there. So it was 95, 83, 93, somewhere around there. But his completion percentage was in the 60s, so mid-60s for that. In the Bills, he only had one start there. And he had 43 yards and an interception, and his QB rating was 47.4. So we're going to give him a little slack there, cut him a little slack, only because when you've got Josh Allen playing, you know he's only going to play. And when you've got a backup such as Trubisky, it's like only when either Josh Allen's out or he got hurt for some reason or he's in the blue tent or they're way ahead and they want to spell him for a little bit. But here's the thing. And again, just to do another positive, against Tampa Bay, he owns the last Bears win against Green Bay. We know we've heard Aaron Rodgers say, I own the Bears, or, he owns it there. But he did have a win against Green Bay. But with Mitch Trubisky, he is a backup. And so let's keep that in mind. He is a backup. He ended up losing his job to Nick Foles, which I personally would rather have. I think mostly because of his height and his arm and the fact that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback when he beat Tom Brady. Let's just keep bringing in Tom Brady in the discussion. And it's just interesting to me just to see how people are excited about this. Now, one thing that is helpful is when you look at this from a business perspective, now it means that probably, and this is, again, I'm making some assumptions for our brass in the Steelers head office. It either looks like Colbert or Tomlin are saying, look, we've got Mason Rudolph. We know everybody's not sold on him, and he's been with us a few years now. We've got Dwayne Haskins, who was just tendered, so we know they're going to be competing for a job. Let's bring in somebody who at least has been in the NFL for at least 3 to 4 years. He's a known player. Yes, he was a backup, but he has started more games than he hasn't started. And let's let them all compete. And that way we save our, basically our compensation, our draft picks, so that we can go out and hopefully beef up our offensive line. Because what quarterback wants to be against our offensive line? They almost killed Ben last year in his last year. And hopefully this will now be where we can go and get players instead of a quarterback that could be substandard. All of the talking heads are saying that this is not a quarterback draft you want to be in the mix for. So it's not one of the best ones out there. So when we look at this Mitch Trubisky thing. It looks like he signed for 2 years with the Steelers. They haven't given any details yet on what that looks like, but it looks to me like they are definitely looking at him as a potential starter, but definitely a quarterback that's going to be in the mix for starting. And at least I think it'll give everyone a chance to calm down. I mean, everybody has been so crazy when it comes to, who are we going to have start? Mason is not it. And I'm on the, I don't want the Mason train either. I think he's okay. He came away with a tie against an 0-10 team when we played the Lions last year when Ben was out. And I'm not sold on him either. Do I think now if he gets all the reps, he could be better? Maybe. Do I think he's better than Mitch Trubisky? In my opinion, I think they're pretty equal. But again, it just gives us this, our chips are still in the bag so that we can now really focus on what we need. Now, another positive, Mitch Trubisky is only 27 years old. And so by the start of the season, he'll be 28, but that's young right now for quarterbacks, as we know. And so that's going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on as well. He has been in the league since 2017, was with the Bears for 4 years, with the Bills midseason in 2021, and here we are. So we were looking again to see what his contract might be, but we're just not sure where it's at right now. He's not a replacement for Ben Roethlisberger. So everyone, you probably need to stop with that. When he signed with the Buffalo Bills, he basically signed a 1-year, $2.5 million contract, and it included a signing bonus. But that's what he got there. So he was on almost the minimum that's out there for quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see what his contract value is going to be for the Steelers, because we don't have a lot of cap room to deal with a quarterback situation. But I know that now everybody's pretty happy that at least we signed somebody. Okay. And I say we because that is definitely where I'm at in my heart's with the Steelers. And so I hope that this is a positive. But as we're looking at all of the things that are where the team needs right now, a quarterback was helpful, definitely. And everybody was saying, and when I say everybody, I'm talking about the talking heads and all the media, kept saying they were looking at Jimmy Garafolo. Well, first of all, he has got a huge contract. Same with Kirk Cousins. Same with anybody out there right now. And so they needed to stay away from that. Kirk Cousins just signed another guaranteed contract. So he gets like 30 million, 40 million, and then another 35 guarantee. People need to shut up about that. But when we're talking about the Steelers, it really comes down to his ability. His skill as a rusher can also be a new dynamic because he does have that skill. And he also, because he is a mobile quarterback. But the thing that we are going to have to look at when it comes to Trubisky is he the comeback king like Ben has been? Ben is somebody who he led in comebacks in the fourth quarter last year. And so what can we actually say that Trubisky can do? For the Bills, he appeared in 6 games. He threw 8 passes, completed 6 of them, again for 43 yards, and threw an interception. And so he ran the ball 13 times for 24 yards, but he is more mobile than what we're used to. Even when you look at Mason Rudolph, he's not mobile at all. He actually reminds me of just a younger, in part of his game, Ben, because he just stays in the pocket. But Ben, at least in his early years, he was at least a scrambler. He moved around quite a bit. So we'll have to see how well Trubisky can be coached, not only by our coach Tomlin, but also what will our Matt Canada do with him? What will our OC do with him since he's staying as well? So a lot to think about here, but I just wanted to get on and really just talk this pick because it has me scratching my head a little bit, just thinking that even though it's not a bad signing, but I think that everyone needs to be just take a breath a little bit, because even though he is a former first-round pick with the Chicago Bears, do you know what they passed up on? They passed up on Patrick Mahomes to get him. And look at how that turned out. And so it just, when I see people saying that, and I respect Mike Garafolo. I like reading about what he writes. But Mike, come on. He said he's the expected starter in place of the retired Ben Roethlisberger. How does he know that? We've got a lot of players that we now have a full quarterback room. So with Rudolph and Haskins under contract, now we have another player that can now compete for that job. And the AFC is going to be tough. Look who we have in the North. I mean, we've got Lamar Jackson, we've got Joe Burrow, and now we've got Mitch Trubisky in the mix on that. And so I don't count Baker Mayfield, but that's just me. I like his commercials, but him as a player, not so much. But it's just interesting when I see everyone just making a lot of assumptions about what he's going to do, how he's going to play. But I guess overall, even as I'm just kind of talking about this right now, not a bad decision based on our future needs. So not necessarily on based on, we need players now. We need to make sure that we're getting good players. I'm sure we're going to be looking for cornerbacks, since Joe Hayden dropped a hint this weekend that was not so subtle, that maybe he's been asked to grab his hat and his car keys and his coat, and he may be out the door. But we need some things fixed. So we definitely, I'm hoping we're going to sign Juju back to the Steelers. I think we need a veteran. And it's funny, Juju at 24, 25 years old, he is the veteran in the mix when you look at who we have right now with Chase Claypool and Washington in that wide receivers room. So we really have to take a look at that as we're entering free agency, and hopefully get somebody in there that knows how to keep things going, how to make sure that they know the way of the Steelers, and also make sure that they know that it's about winning football as well. Yes, we're in a rebuild, and we can finally say that. But I think everyone out there who was hoping for the Kenny Pickett possibly, all we heard about was hand size for the last 2 weeks about that. But now that with this signing with Trubisky, I think we could probably make a pretty good argument that it may not be necessarily in our best interest to draft a quarterback. Now, if there's somebody still there in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and they already have picked who they need to help build that offensive line and some defensive heft there, since we do have some aging players on defense, and get a good cornerback or a good defensive back, that'd probably be helpful. But we do need some help. We need a defensive tackle. I'm hoping we get one in free agency. If there's anybody that I'd like to at least consider as far as a linebacker, would be Bobby Wagner. He's one of the most productive and decorated inside linebackers in the NFL, and he was released from the Seahawks. So now that he's on the market, do we have any money for him next to Devin Bush? That might not be a bad look right now, because we definitely could use something like that. But when we're dealing with wide receivers, we have to look at everybody who's out there as well, look and making sure that, I forgot about Deontay Johnson, but he drops a lot. And so when Ben said he's one of the best route runners out there, but he drops a lot. And so if we've got I hate to say a weakened area in the quarterback position, but if we have new quarterbacks, not, our 18-year veteran, we've got now a 5-year, a 4-year, and Dwayne Haskins, what does he have, 4 or 5 years? Well, we've got basically some equal talent, equal longevity, that they're going to need to figure out how they have chemistry with some of these players. So it's helpful if we can go after maybe some free agents in this, and then in the draft, the Steelers seem to do pretty well when it comes to picking up wide receivers. So that's where I wanted to kind of pick up today. Hopefully everyone's having a great day and a great week. And we'll talk to you soon on the Steel City Underground podcast. This is a special edition, What the Football WTF. My name is Terry Fletcher. Have a great day.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.